what's happening, guys? It's Tuesday and we're still at the Hack and Pack shop. You guys getting double whammy today. Randy from Facebook, he just Facebooked me and messaged me and told me he lives out in Buffalo. He's 23 years old and he's thinking about doing the same kind of business and wondering if I can give any kind of advice on either business or body shop. The first thing that I swear by, and I never used to, guys, I used to be one of them people that did business that just kind of, I just looked out for myself for the moment. You know, get what you can get it while you can get it. It doesn't matter who you screw over. And I've learned hard lessons from doing stuff like that in my early 20s. That's the one thing you don't do. All right, if you want to be semi-successful in a business, the number one key to being successful, at least in my eyes, is honesty. If you cannot be honest with your customers, you're not going to have a business very long. There's many occupations out there, and I don't care if you're in the food business, in the car business, if you're building houses, it doesn't matter what you do. When somebody comes to you, to your place of business, they're coming to you and they're trusting you to give them good, honest advice and to do good, honest work, and they want to get what they pay for. Yeah, there's a lot of cheapskates out there that just do what they can do to get it out of you. You know what I mean? Like somebody comes here, hey, can you paint my car for $300? And I'm like, it ain't even going to cover the paint. Get the hell out of here. You know what I mean? But then I explained to them, look, $300, you might be able to do like an old Earl Chive job or one of them, Mako job back in the day. But when you're self-employed, when you're just a lone ranger like I am, you can't afford to do things like that. I mean, I'm one guy paying, 2 electric bills, a home, a shop, 3 phones, child support, just all the stuff that adds up. I'm one guy paying for all that, okay? And I've got to look out for myself also, but at the same time, I'm not going to rip off Joe to pay Peter. You get what I'm saying? Like this car, for example. I normally don't talk about what I make on a job. Yesterday's job on that bumper cover, I did it for $175, not including the light. Okay, and you're like, well, that's a good deal. It's a good deal in a way, but you got to break it all down. It cost me $25 roughly to heat this place yesterday. Okay, it cost me like $24 for the pint of paint that I bought. So right there, roughly there's $50 already gone. So therefore I've got $125 left that I could potentially make. Then you add a little bit of clear coat. Say I use roughly $5 in clear coat. Probably use another $3-4 in tape and masking paper and stuff like that. Used another $4 to $5 in body filler and epoxy, things like that. Actually, no, I spent more than that. It was like $15, okay, for the strengthening material for the backside of that bumper. You break it all down on that job that took me 4 to 5 hours to do. Okay, I made what, $80-90? So okay, in that job I made maybe $20 an hour. But it was in my shop all day. I had to run the heat all day, and then after I painted it, I had to run the heat some more. It tied up a valuable bay. All right, $20 an hour, well, okay, that ain't so bad. But then there's days, like I had last week, where I didn't really have much going on at all, okay? I mean, I went the whole week with hardly any work, and some of that's to my doing, some of it's to the car dealer being out of town, so I didn't get any work from him. I did do a little couple straggler jobs here and there, just, little $50, $100 jobs. But when you have, thousands of dollars in bills going out every month, you got to make a lot of $50 and $100 to equivalent, say, $2,500 a month for expense. Okay? You got to hustle. Be honest, hustle, and work hard. You don't get a car like this in and you let it sit here for 2 weeks. You get to it, you get it done. Now this car, yes, it has been here a week. All right, but I did have to wait for the doors, and he told me he was leaving the car for 2 to 2.5 weeks because he was going to be out of town. So a job like this, I mean, what was I going to do? Bring it in, rip the thing all apart, and then if I have to pull it outside, then I got to cover the side of the car up because it's going to snow. And I'm not leaving a car outside exposed like that, especially a newer car. Okay? Now that the doors are here, we're going to get cranking on these doors, okay? Like earlier's video. Got this Ford truck in here. Getting this thing banged out. Couple $100 job. What am I making off it for 4 or 5 hours work? $100. Okay? But it's another one of those deals. Things going to be in the shop all day. I'm not getting rich here, guys. Yeah, I just moved into a decent home. That don't mean I'm making a lot of money. It means I'm working harder. Okay? The expense just went up a lot monthly. Okay? And that's the thing you guys got to think about. You know, you have overhead for a building. You have heat for a building. You have electric to pay. You're doing it out of your garage at home. Not a big deal. But, excuse me, I still haven't gotten a drink. 2 hours later, making this video, still haven't run down to the store and gotten a drink. If you're doing it at home, that's okay, but then you got to think about the neighbors. You know, are the neighbors going to want to deal with smell and paint fumes? Are they want to, you know, they're going to want to listen to an air compressor running at 8 o'clock at night, you know, on a Sunday night? You know, that's a bunch of things you also got to think about. Then you want to open your own business. We'll use this for an example, a body shop. You got to get the customers. You got to get the clientele. That's very, very important. Me, I don't advertise. I don't have a sign out front. I do have a business phone number, which I will be giving out to you guys soon as I get that phone line transferred to the shop. Right now I'm using it as a home phone, but it is a business line. And that'll be you guys' number to call if you want to talk to me, okay? But you got to think about all these things. You got to stock up on material. You got to buy tools, guys. I mean, there's thousands of dollars worth of tools to even get going in a business like this. $500-600, you can buy a bunch of hand tools, a DA, G paint gun, maybe a grinder, you know, and get the ball rolling that way. And that's how I did it. Okay. And then you just, you know, as you make more money, keep investing it back into your business. Like, say if I make, we'll just say, for example, say I do $1,000 worth of work out of this place in 1 week. You're like, that's good money. All right, we'll say this job is $1,000. Okay? This is what you got to think about. We'll pretend I didn't buy any parts, and this was just $1,000. Say I had a couple small dents, and I have to paint the side of the car. $1,000. Right off the bat, you got to figure in how much money is that bay costing you. How much is shop rent for that week it's going to take you to do the job? How much electric are you going to use for that week it's going to take you to do the job? How much heat? That's the first thing you got to think about. Then you got to think about the paint and the materials. You're going to put roughly, to paint the side of this car, between $200 and $250 worth of paint, clear coat, primer, tape, masking paper, sandpaper, etc., to make this job happen. So when it's all said and done, that $1,000, after you break it all up, turns into about, okay, I made $600 off the car. That was my profit from this car, was $600. We'll just use that for an example. Or actually, we'll make it 5. We'll make it an even $500. So I made $500 on this one car, we'll say in 3 days. Good money, right? Right. What if your welder takes a shit? What if you need to buy a toolbox, a new DA, a paint mask? Okay, this is all stuff you got to figure in when you're doing a job. These masks, they're like $20-30 a piece. All right, they're not free, and I should have that in the bag, and I don't. All right, this grinder, $100. That's not free either. This little socket set, cheapo, probably $10 for this. Another, I don't know, $10 for the racket. I mean, it all adds up. So is what I do, say if I make $1,000, or I do $1,000 gross repairs in that week, my paycheck, and you're going to think I'm nuts, it's going to be like $400. Because I'm going to take $100 off of the top, and I'm going to invest it back into my shop. I'm going to buy a new light. Okay? Or maybe I'll buy a new air hose. Or I'll buy a heater or jack stands. That's what I do. That's how I've accumulated so much stuff in here. All right, my paycheck a week roughly is $400 to $500. It's not a lot of money. But I invest more back into my business so I can keep going. you got to really kind of learn how to budget money, and I used to be terrible at doing that. Okay? And you're saying, well, $400 or $500 isn't a lot of money to bring home a week. It's really not. Okay? And some weeks I make more than that. Some weeks I might make 1,000. Some weeks I might only make 100. Okay? It's all part of being self-employed, and you got to get prepared for that too. You got to think about the good times and the dry times. Right now, for the car dealer business, for the body business, all right, for the body business, it's hit and miss. You got deer hits, you got collision, all right? But I don't work for the public, okay? I'm a private individual that does wholesale only work, all right? I don't advertise to bring in cars off the street. Yes, this car is a car off the street, but this is through another company that I do business with, okay? And that's another thing. Wholesale work, you're always pretty steady. Retail work, it's hit and miss. Retail work, you make a lot more money. But in order for me to really get hooked up with good insurance jobs and all that, I got to invest in a paint booth. I got to get a bigger building. I mean, the expense, the overhead would just be phenomenal. I can't do it on my own. I can't afford it. Okay? So right now, I got to keep it small. But in the same time, you guys got to think about 3 years ago, when I started doing YouTube, in the original Hack and Pack shop, started out behind my ex-girlfriend's parents' house in a 24 by 24 foot pole barn. And when I found this building, I was scared to make that move. I didn't know if I would succeed to pay more rent, more electric. I mean, out at her parents' house, I didn't have to pay a nickel. I used to mow the yard or wash their cars to earn my keep there. Okay, things like that. You know, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're moving into a shop. You got electric. You know, it's going to cost me a lot more to heat it because 12, 14 foot. I think it's 14 foot ceilings in here. All right, and this building, the working area of the building is roughly 26 by 70. Is my working area, and then I got another 12-foot area over there by 70 that's storage on the other side of that wall. Okay? And it was scary to make that leap. And the very first week I moved into here, I was scared because I had no work. I had a couple of my own cars I'd brought in and worked on them that I was reselling, but the car dealer had no work for me that week. I was like, oh God, here we go. I make this jump and I'm going to lose it. You know, I upgraded, got a bigger place, moved all my crap here, and I'm not going to be able to afford to pay the second month's rent. That's where willpower comes in. You're like, man, no work, what do I do? Well, then you go out and hunt down the work. That's when you go out and find the work. Go to your neighbors. Go to your buddies. Say, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. If you need something, I'll give you a killer deal. Okay? That's what I've had to do. Now, I turn down more work than I do, honestly. Because I don't have the hands or the help to do all this extra work. I mean, guys, this truck's been here 2 years. This car's been here a year. All right, I have this job to do. I have this job to do. These two will keep me busy for the rest of the week. All right, and then by the time this one leaves, he's going to give me another car to bring in, another dealer car. So, I mean, I never have time to work on these projects. And I feel bad because this one belongs to Seasonal. You know what I mean? They actually paid me to do it already, which makes it even worse because now, you know, I just got this pit in my stomach that, man, these guys paid me 2 years ago to do this truck and it's still in here. It makes me feel like shit because I feel like I'm failing them, if that makes any kind of sense. Okay, same thing with Brian. Granted, he owes me some money on this yacht, but at the same time, I'm not taking another nickel from him until this car's painted. You know, the poor guy's been waiting over a year to get it done. But then at the same time, I keep bringing in all these other jobs. Profit-wise on this car, in 3-4 days, I'm making more than I am profit-wise on this car or on that truck. So what do? I bring in the bigger money stuff first because I have 2 children to help support. My girlfriend has 3 children I have to support, and her, and myself. Okay, so there's a lot of weight on my shoulders to get done, so I have to pick the bigger jobs, or the bigger paying jobs to get done first. Okay? That's another thing you got to think about. Can you financially hold it together. I mean, say you're making $500 a week at your job. We'll just say roughly. Some make less, some make more. Can you make $500 a week after all expense and overhead when you open your own business? Can you do that? And that's what you have to keep in mind. When you're working for the man, you bring home that paycheck every week or bi-weekly or monthly or however you get paid. You know it's going to be there. And that's one thing me and my father have talked about it many times. He retired from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department after working there, I believe, 35 years. Okay, actually probably a little bit more than that. So every other week for 35 years, he has had that guaranteed paycheck every other week. He knows what he's going to make every other week. He knows what he can afford every other week. Now he's got retirement. So for the rest of his life, he is set on retirement. Me, totally different. I don't know how much money I'm going to be making tomorrow, usually, let alone in 2 weeks. What am I going to have? You got to be a gambler to start your own business, but at the same time, you got to be an honest gambler. And at the same time, you also have to have something to gamble. If you have operating capital to start out with, I would highly, highly suggest that. All right? Don't go out getting loans to start your business because you don't know if you're going to be able to pay it back. Sell something you already own to start your business, because then you don't have anybody to pay back if your business fails. Right now, I owe nothing to creditors other than, well, I think there's like $1,100 on my credit report. One of them being an old electric bill from a long time ago. One of them being, I believe, a hospital bill, but I don't think that's on there. There was a credit card that I got that got stolen, that got used. I never even used it. That's on there. I mean, it's not a lot. $1,200. My credit can be 100% perfect. But I don't have one outstanding loan. I've never had any outstanding loans. I've never had a car loan. I've never had a home loan. Never had a personal loan. And other than that one credit card that got stolen, I've never even had a credit card loan. Okay? Everything that's here is paid for. There's no money owed on any of it. Okay? I don't have a lot. But at the same time, it's mine. If I fail, at least I have the stuff that I do not owe people for. And that's a very important thing. Like my dad, again, Sean, you should get a new truck. Okay. $600 a month for a truck payment. $4,000 down for the truck payment. Another probably $120, $530 a month for the insurance payment. Then while you're making that car payment, in 3 years it's going to need tires, or 2 years. It's going to need oil changes. It's going to need, whatever. You have breakdowns. Things happen. So you don't only think about that $600 a month payment you got to make. You got to think about all the associated costs that go with it. Because if you balance and weigh it all out with insurance, with oil changes, with tires, brakes, all that $600 a month payment is roughly $750 to $800 if you figure it all out and do the math. Okay? Probably closer to $750 with the insurance and things like that. Yeah, I could afford $600, but you don't think about the $750, the whole picture. Okay, just like paying rent. Say you're paying $500 rent for a building. I can afford that. What if a light takes a dump and the landlord doesn't cover stuff like that? What if you back the car through the front door? You got to change that door. Landlord ain't going to do it because you broke it. You got to think about all that stuff too. So that $500 a month building might be $600 a month after you figure in all the little extra knickknacks and just stuff that you want to do to improve it. I mean, there ain't a lot here, but I've spent a couple $100 in lights since I've been here. Brian, that was in here before, spent a few $100 on wiring and lights, to a building that we do not own. But at the same time, you kind of need it to make your business happen. You need the air compressor, you need this, you need that. Okay, it's not just the building. You got insurance on the building. You have electric to pay. You have a phone line if you want it. You have heat. Okay, so yeah, $500 can you afford, but can you afford $500 a month to heat it in the winter? Because that's what it runs me here, at least. $500. Okay? So that $500 turns into $1,000. Then you got another I got commercial electric, so it's like $100 a month. So then your $500 is now $1,100 before you even pull one car in this building. $1,100 a month in the winter before you even work on anything. That's what you got to think about. You got to think ahead. You got to think of what ifs, because what ifs are very important. I have learned my lessons over life and over time the hard way with anything, whether it's been business, personal life, relationships, even children, okay? I mean, I failed as a parent. Now I'm trying to make up for that. I have failed as a boyfriend or a husband, all right? I have failed as a son in certain aspects when I was younger, okay? But you gotta try to not fail in the first place. You just want to try to make it just happen. All right? Be the best you can be, do the best you can do, and be honest. Like I said, it's the best advice I can give. You want to go out and drum up some work? Like I said, friends, family members, we got to watch that too. Working on friend stuff, working on family member stuff. You know, especially something like these two vehicles. You know, in the back of their minds, even though they are two good friends, you know, they're thinking, well, geez, you know, he's doing all these other cars. You know, why is mine not done? And, you know, I know they think that sometimes, and I feel bad for that. But at the same time, they understand that, look, you know, he's got these other money jobs. He's got, you know, people to support, kids to support. You know, it's okay, but that only goes so far, too. You know, so what's it going to come down to with these two cars that are in here? It's going to come down to me hiring somebody 10, 12, 15 an hour, whatever, to pay somebody to get these other two cars done, or at least maybe pay them to work on dealer cars while I personally do these other two cars, because they want me to personally do them. You know? So I guess it's just something to think about, okay? Like Corvair Wild's Corvair. That car was in here way too long, also. You know, it should have been here a month. It's like the minute he dropped it off, excuse me, my throat is so dry. The minute he dropped it off, bam, all hell broke loose here. I mean, I had cars all over the place. Dealerships blowing me up, wanting cars done. Buddies are bringing cars. You know, I probably invested 25, 30 hours into Corvair's car, maybe a little bit more. Never got done. Unfortunately, he took it somewhere else, and they did kind of a crappy job from what I understand. And he texted me not too long ago saying, man, I wish you could have done my car. You know, but it was one of those things, he just couldn't wait. You know, that's what you got to think about. These long-term complete paint jobs, in my opinion, there's not really a lot of money in them. You take a deer hit, or even some dealer scab work, there's more money in that than there is in doing complete restoration / paint jobs. Unless you got somebody with an open checkbook, you know, that just don't care. You know, Brian's car, I think I told him like $700-800 on the labor. It's not a lot of money. Okay, maybe I should have told him $1,000. I would have been a little more ambitious to do it, but I didn't because he's a buddy. Same thing with seasonal. Told him $1,000 roughly, $1,200 labor on that truck. That truck should have been at least $2,000 labor. But again, a buddy, they've helped me. You know, so you kind of, I don't mean get suckered in, that's not the word I'm looking for, but you kind of, if you actually have a heart, you're like, yeah, I'll do it. You know what I mean? Not because you need the money that bad, it's more because you want to help a buddy out. And that's where you got to kind of draw the fine line. If you're going to help a buddy out, get it in, get it done, get it over with. All right, these two cars, they've been lingering. I got to get them out. And honestly, it bothers me to see them both sit here still. Can I do something about it? Yeah. But I can't work around the clock physically 24 hours a day either. That's the thing. I mean, I roughly work 12, 14 hours a day in the shop. I come home, I'm beat. Last night, I left the house 6:30 yesterday morning. I got done home about 9:45, 10:30, my ass was in bed. All right? I mean, I'm beat. You can only do so much. Are people going to come here and work for free? It'd be great if they did, but I don't expect anybody to. You know, I mean, it's wrong for somebody to come in here and work and not pay them for it. That's the way I look at it. I'm sure a bunch of YouTubers would love to come here and hang out and help me for free. But in the back of my mind, I would feel guilty for you driving here and working for nothing. I mean, you know, it's just not right. I mean, I've done it, yeah. I'm sure you guys have done it, yeah. But at the same time, you got a family to feed maybe, or you got bills to pay. Unless you just want to come for the experience, then that's cool too. But I don't expect anybody to come here for nothing. And I don't expect anybody to have me do shit for nothing. That's another thing to think about. You know, a lot of guys, you know, I hear stories all the time. Yeah, my buddy did my transmission for a case of beer. I wish I could find people to do shit for a case of beer because I'd get a lot done and I'd make a lot of money. But at the same time, I'd feel bad because, say I charged my customer $100 to do whatever and my buddy did it for a case of beer, for a $20 case of beer or whatever, I'd feel kind of bad. You know what I mean? So I'd probably split it with him right up the board. I'd buy him his beer and give him $30 and I'd keep 50. You know, so I guess you just got to kind of weigh everything out. And you guys are more than welcome, you know, to give me your feedback on this topic. Because I'm sure a lot of you, actually I know a lot of you are self-employed. You have your own body shops. Some of you have full-fledged big, you know, body shops. Some of you, you know, work out of a carport. Some of you work in your driveway. Some of you work in your garage at home. Some of you paint shit in your front yard. We're all kind of doing the same thing now. Nobody's better, nobody's worse than anybody else. We're all a bunch of dudes and some women doing what we thoroughly love or enjoy, or just doing it because it's a paycheck. Me, I enjoy it. I love what I do to an extent, and it's a paycheck. Not always a good one. Sometimes it's good. Last week was terrible. Terrible. I think it cost me $300 a week to keep this place going last week. So you got to think about the good times and the dry times. Don't give away the farm, but don't rip people off either. Find a happy medium. My labor rate in this shop is $25 an hour. So some of you that make $10 an hour, well, gee, you know, that's a lot. Well, no, it's not really a lot, because most body shops are, you know, $40, $50 an hour. Most mechanical shops are $60 to $100 an hour. Okay, and you got to figure, I'm one guy here. $25 an hour, one guy, if an 8-hour day, what's that come out to be? That's $200. But then you got to figure in the heat. You got to figure in the electric. You got to figure in the shop rent. It's not a lot of money. It's really not. You have a lot of overhead. Some days, you know, average, I'll make $15, $18 an hour. Other days, I make negative money an hour. Like yesterday. Well, I made a little bit yesterday, but other days I've made nothing. You know, like if I work on this car, I'm making nothing. I'm losing money because I could make more money on this car than, say, this car. A lot more, okay? But then again, this is a vehicle that needs to get done. You take the good with the bad, okay? So I hope my little bit of advice helps you. The best thing to do, if you can do it on your own, again, just be honest, be fair. Don't do it for free, but don't rip off your buddy, your mother, or just the guy off the street. So with all that being said, I gotta go get something to drink because my mouth is just, or my throat's sore as hell. Y'all have a goody-goody. Thank you for watching. And again, leave your comments. I'd like to see what you have to say. Later.